AITA, because I don't want either of my future SIL to be a bridesmaid, not the a-hole. A-hole. My fiancé, I'm 27, Rob, and I have 26, have been together for nearly 8 years, engaged for a little over 1 year. We've been living with each other now since 2021. Around this time, I guess, when it became apparent that we were serious and animosity between his parents and one of his sisters started to develop. We've had some up and downs, usually starting a down period when I say or do something they don't like or agree with, such as having a boundary. I could list every infraction over the last few years and end up with an encyclopedia level of volumes, where 99.999% of those would make you laugh cry. Then these down periods have usually ended with me making a compromise, which more or less have me having to make a 180 deg to keep the peace. Now, none of these boundaries are unreasonable. Asking that they not turn up at our house unannounced and uninvited is one of them. To only invite us to dinner over the weekend we work 12-hour shifts weekdays, just to name a couple. However, these two in particular cause the most grief because it means that I don't like them apparently. Come to planning our wedding. We're having a small ceremony, maxing out at 50 guests. We agreed we only wanted a small wedding party, 2 bridesmaids, 2 groomsmen, no page boys, flower girls, etc. We sent out the save the dates. Rob handed his personally to his family. No sooner had he done that had his mother, Jan, gotten in his face and demanded to know why neither of his sisters were in the bridal party. Rob mentioned that we were originally going to elope but felt that it excluded family, so we opted for a small wedding. Jan then stated that she would prefer us to elope, then said that I should remove my close friend as the bridesmaid and have one of his sisters. Originally, he had no problem with not having his sisters as bridesmaids. Now he's seeming to have changed his mind, he says, but I think that John getting in his face has caused some emotional conflict in his mind and he just wants to keep her happy. Because of my having to relent usually, I don't want to change our arrangements and want this aspect to remain solely my choice, as I have never asked him to include one of my brothers as his groomsman, as it's his choice who he has. But now it's caused this whole argument where I'm being called a bitch and spiteful because I don't want to relent. I've always been told that the wedding is about the couple, and it's not their responsibility to keep everyone happy with their choices. Given their history, I can't trust that they'll get their way this one time, then not demand more changes the closer we get to the date. I don't think I am being unreasonable, but am I? First comment, uninvite her. Your fiancé needs to grow a spine. Nobody calling the bride a bitch should be allowed without 100 miles of the wedding. There is nothing remotely spiteful about choosing your own sister and best friend for your maids. I have 6 sisters-in-law. I was not a bridesmaid for any of them, nor were any of them my bridesmaids, and I actually like most of them. I still chose my 2 closest friends. I am a wedding floral designer, so I've been to hundreds of weddings. Most brides don't have their future sisters-in-law as bridesmaids unless they otherwise have close friendships with them. Your mill is the unreasonable one. But you have a fiancé problem. If this very normal thing causes this much drama and he's not willing to shut it down, imagine how much worse it'll be when you two decide to move for work, or have kids, or one of you is very ill, or any number of other circumstances. He needs to show that he can put you first and take your side over his mother every time. Even if he disagrees with you, that needs to be resolved with you in private, so the two of you present a united front to his family and the outside world. You're NTA, but you need to think if this is really how you want to spend the rest of your life. Second comment, welcome to the rest of your life up. You're not being unreasonable at all for wanting to choose your bridal party. Where I'm from, it would be really rare to have the groom's family in the bridal party unless they were incredibly close to the bride, like best friends close. But look, this isn't even about the wedding. This is just another example of you having to give in to the bullshit from your fiancé's family in order to keep the peace, and it's your fiancé that is letting you down here. He's not backing you up when he should be. This is a really clear look at what the rest of your life will be like with this man and his family. Are you planning to have kids? Are you going to be able to cope with his mother trying to dictate how you raise your kids, and your husband giving in to her to keep her happy? Why does his mother's happiness come before yours? You're NTA for this issue, but you will be if you go through with this wedding without your finest sorting his SHT out and telling his family that you are his priority now. Third comment, NTA. Please put a pause on the wedding planning. You are not being unreasonable in the slightest, and your fiancé is massively letting you down. Has he ever stood up for you? He should be managing the relationship between you and his family. But it sounds like they attack you and you capitulate because he isn't standing up for you at all. This is how your marriage will always go. They will bully you, get their way, and you will be miserable. Do not marry a man who lets any of that happen. There is no excuse for him to have let his family treat you badly, ever. His refusal to manage this shows that he is on their side. Actions speak louder than words, and his actions are clear. My ex was the same. His family treated me appallingly. He always told me he chose me and was sorry, but he did nothing as they abused me and blamed me for the results of their abuse. When I left him, he was shocked, but I realized that his family would never have abused me if he didn't let them. He was the one responsible for what they did to me, and he was never going to change. I met and married a wonderful man a few years later, and his family are amazing. My ex is still single and bitter because his family have chased off several other girlfriends. You deserve better than abusive in-laws and a weak husband who will consistently throw you under the bus to appease his family. You should never have to fight for respect from your spouse. Fourth comment, NTA. Lots of people I know do not have their in-laws in their bridal party, either SX, either side, and everyone lives and gets along. There is also the option for your brother to have his sisters on his side. Sure, it isn't traditional, but in the last 20 years, lots of weddings have had mixed-up wedding parties. The more important issue is that your mill called you a bitch and spiteful, and your fiance's response to that is ask you to do what she wants. Absolutely not. This has gone beyond compromise to a point where your fiance is the actual problem her. I wouldn't allow my family to call my partner names at all. No good partner would allow you to be treated this way, and he needs to get his act together. Do not marry a man that would let his family call you names, be this overly involved and dramatic, and put it on you to fix the issue by relenting. What if your mill SIL wants to be in the delivery room? Name the baby? What if you get a new job that requires you to move and they don't want you to? Your whole life will not be a life between two people, but between you and all those in-laws who have made it very clear they don't like you. They will walk all over you, make you feel horrible, and your fiancé will not just allow it but encourage it because he doesn't have your back. Fifth comment, why are you constantly twisting yourself into knots to make his family happy at the expense of yourself? Why do their wants and emotional well-being come before your own in both yours and your fiancé's priorities? You're NTA, but personally, I wouldn't marry anybody who folds like a wet paper towel and puts his parents and siblings before both themselves and me. It won't change with a piece of paper. Think very carefully if you want the rest of your life to look like this, where every time his family throws a fit because you put reasonable boundaries in place, you're made to ignore them so they can get their own way. What about if you have kids? Is it going to be mommy threw a fit, so now we have to pierce our newborn daughter's ears, even though neither of us want to? Sorry, kid. Grandma and granddad refuse to accept your anything other than your assigned gender at birth, heterosexual, insert other outdated bullshit belief here, so dad is going to need you to put yourself in harm's way and conform to their outdated expectations, even if it damages you mentally? Sorry, son. Auntie said you cannot even apply to your dream college because they didn't let her in and it's making her sad? Dude, where's the line? Because so far, all you've told us is that every time you draw a line, they stomp their big-ass stanky feet until your fiancé makes you erase it to make them happy again, even if it comes at your expense.